Hello and welcome back again to Chance and Penner Live. My name is Eli Chance. I'm here with the head bobbing savage, Dave Penner.
Oh, I like that.
Dave, dude, you can use that. You can put that on all your handles and stuff.
That's
I think
better
actually works for you.
than, yeah. I feel like the head bob and bitch kind of has a ring to it too,
Dude,
but
it's alliteration, dude. So anything with alliteration works really well. But hey, welcome back. This is we're here to talk. Scream 6 is the thing that we're all here for. We saw it last night, with the exception of producer Vince, who did not see it. So we're just going to spoil the hell out of this thing, and it's going to be a real problem for you if you were hoping for secrets, Vince.
there was quite a turnout too on opening night last night, I thought.
Yeah, there was. My theater was packed as well, and I went to a later showing, so I was really a little surprised by that. But before we get into that, I want to encourage all of the immense amount of people that are watching this feed right now to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch, and let your friends know about Chance and Penner. We're really trying to grow this thing out, and we're not. It's not beneath us to beg you to tell your friends about us.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have if you don't like us, you don't have to watch it. But at least do us the favor of getting another friend to
Sure.
watch it. And
With that being said, we don't need you, but we might need your friends.
we don't need anybody, and we don't like anybody. But we really like you, and we really need subscribers.
Dave's a head bob and bitch. Okay, that comes with its own energy. So let's just keep that going. But yeah, so I got to do something a little bit fun. I wanted to start before we got into Scream 6. I got to go to Super Nintendo World, and when I say I got to go, I mean,
dude,
I paid for an annual pass like 6 months ago, but this was the first time I got to go after Super Nintendo World opened. And anybody that knows anything about me, I like theme parks to a flaw. I'm also a guy that doesn't like roller coasters, so it's kind of weird. It's like a sober person going to AA meetings just for the stories. But I really enjoy it, and I love immersive themed environments. And man, Universal's knocked it out of the park. It's kind of crazy that we're living in an era now where Disney's not the only they're not the only Imagineering crew on the block. You got a lot of people over at Universal that are doing some crazy stuff. Have you seen anything about Super Nintendo World, Dave? You live down the street from it. You're way
no,
closer.
I didn't see the. We both grew up in Anaheim. I didn't think I'd see a day where Disney was usurped when it comes to Imagineering, animatronics, and all that. And yeah, there's a lot of people talking about it. I don't know if I know anybody else that's gone to it yet. What was your experience?
I mean, visually, it's awesome. So the problem with Universal Studios Hollywood is that there's no room. They have no room for anything, for any kind of expansion. They've done a good job of figuring out a way, like with Hogsmeade, or Hogwarts, I should say. Is it Hogsmeade? Hogsmeade. I'll go with that. I'm not really the most fluent Harry Potter person, but they closed the Universal Amphitheater to build that land out. So this one was it's kind of shoehorned a little bit on the lower lot between Jurassic World and Transformers. But man, the presentation, and once you're in the land, it's really cool. And it reminds me of kind of what Walt Disney, back when he started Imagineering and he started Disneyland. His whole thing was that he wanted your complete eye line and everything around you in your peripheral to be. He didn't want you to see anything from the outside world. And I won't go as far and say that Super Nintendo really accomplishes that 100%, but it's pretty close. And it's multi-leveled, and there's games that are involved. When we went, it was packed, because I think it's only been open for a week or two now. So it was, when I say it was packed, and it's not a very big space. So we didn't get to do much. We mostly just dipped in just to kind of check it out and see what the experience was like. But man, if you got time, and it thins out in the crowds a little bit, I can see it being a really, really fun thing to do. I didn't get to go on the Mario Kart ride. The line was a little bit too long, but they do have single rider, which is something Disney got rid of. Now you have to pay to be a single rider at Disneyland, but Universal still has single rider. So if you're not afraid of appearing or looking like a lonely person, that's the way to go, because you can literally walk onto everything. I've got a 3-year-old who can't do much. So me and her mom just kind of switch, and we'll kind of do the parent swap thing and go ride single rider. So all that to say, it was a really, really fun time. Is really interesting in design and the way they did it. It's a little small. I can see crowds being a problem, but no, I would encourage you to check it out. You'd love it, Dave.
So you feel like it was pretty immersive?
Yeah, I do. And you know, I was kind of thinking that I wouldn't because it is so small and there were so many people, but I mean, it's kind of undeniable. They did the Disney like thing. I mean, that's really the only thing I can compare it to. And it just down to the finest detail. So it's really cool. I went in there and I played Mario as a kid, mostly watched my sister play because she was way better at it than I was. But we played it on Super Nintendo all the time. And I walked in and I was just like, man, I wish this was Pokemon. Because this would have been so rad. Just like the gaming aspect of it, there's actually 3 keys you have to get before they'll even let you into one section of the park, which is Bowser Jr.'s castle. So you have to get they make you earn 3 keys before you can even fully explore the whole park.
And I heard a rumor that you broke down and spent the $50.
I did. I honestly, I went in, I was like, I'm not going to, $47 for a slap band is ridiculous. And I got in there and Calliope, my daughter, saw everybody using them and was like, I already set up
everyone else's parents loves them enough to spend $47.99.
She couldn't vocalize that, but that was the general vibe of like, and I told her going in, I was like, okay, you can pick something out. Like I usually do that, first time going to something new. I'm like, you can pick something out as a souvenir. I didn't anticipate her picking out the gaming band or the power-up band. So yeah, that was a little bit much. But I will say that I look forward to going back and probably getting more usage out of it than she did. But yeah, you guys should check it out. It's really cool. And I hear the Mario Kart ride's really, really good. But
I think that's something that's been missing with Disney for a while is like, especially like you said, where they're running out of space, especially Disneyland. And that's why, like, when Cars Land came out, I thought they did such a good job because it was like actually immersive. It wasn't just like, we're going to pack something in every single like square foot of this place. And I thought Galaxy's Edge also did an awesome job of like really feeling like you're there. Avengers Campus, not so much. So hopefully...
Avengers Campus is the dollar store of theme park lands, if you ask me. But yeah,
it's the junior college.
Yeah, right. I think Cars Land is a good comparison. It's a lot smaller than Cars Land, but that's a good example of kind of using the smaller space. And I think all of this was like either a backlot or it was part of the backlot, but I think it was a sound stage before or office buildings or something. I'm not quite sure, but they did a really good job. I think a lot of the people working for Universal Creative now are ex-Imagineers, or at least there's definitely some Imagineering influence in there. But I think it was actually
an LA homeless encampment before, and then they went and reclaimed it.
Yeah, there was and there was still an element of that in Super Nintendo World. There was a lot of, there's a lot of people cleaning
them off to the side.
I thought it was weird when I was on my Mario Kart or my cart in Mario Kart ride and people offered to wash my windshield. Cool. No, but you should definitely check it out. I think you dig it. And
can you throw banana peels and turtle shells at people? Do they
You absolutely can on the ride. The ride is weird because it's one part dark ride, one part augmented reality or augmented. Well, how do you say it? Augmented. Augmented reality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the AR stuff that they use in the land too. Like they have these on the second story or the second level. They have binoculars, and if you look through them, it's augmented, so you can see like Pikmin and just characters from the new Super Nintendo universe running around. So yeah, check it out. Sweet. It's a lot of fun. I love Universal Studios. So I feel like I need to come out and say that. So now you guys know if you didn't already.
I wasn't sure how your commitment level was, but now I understand that you're pretty high.
Dude, I have an annual pass to a theme park that's an hour and 15 minutes away from me. I'm pretty committed.
That is.
Yeah, it's
you never come by my place either when you.
Well, you live you're a little more north.
It's a little far.
And I got to get my Philippe's in on the way. That was actually Vince introduced me to Philippe's. But
I understand that.
No offense, but no.
Well, we have Peachtree in the chat that's getting a little impatient that we're not talking about Scream yet.
Okay, well that's a great transition. Thanks, Peachtree. I feel like
Mike Dojo said I just went there.
Oh, so Mike Dojo agrees with everything I just said, probably then.
If you want me to mute Peachtree,
I don't know if that means he agrees with everything, but
yeah. What's that, Vince?
I said if you want me to tell her to keep it down, you let me know, Dave.
Oh no, we can't do that. She's driving all the traffic. We can't do that.
I know she's the producer's producer. We gotta.
But I
Yeah.
think that's a
She
good.
has a name tag that says that too. It says producer's producer.
I tried to just address her as Paige, and she wouldn't answer to it at all, which I thought was cool and weird at the same time. So
Okay, so Mike Dojo is saying recommends the goblets and French dips 100% at Super Nintendo World.
dude, the food options, I've seen videos on them. I didn't get to check that part of it out, but the food options, like for theme park food, which I've swore off, by the way, I want to say that too. I finally came to the conclusion that theme park food is a complete waste of money and time. But I will say that the menu for Super Nintendo World looked really good, so I definitely want to go back and check that out.
Nice.
But yeah, let's get into Scream. I think that's a great transition, and Peachtree's forceful suggestion really helped us out in there. But I saw it last night. Dave, I know you saw it last night. You said that your theater was pretty full.
Yeah, it was pretty good energy. Yeah, I was excited. I'm always excited to be around in a theater where there's some little bit of raucousness going on.
Yeah.
Especially for a horror movie, it's always a good thing. But yeah, I thought it was for me it was on par with 5. 5 is almost like as in 5 they deem it a requel.
Yeah.
This was the sequel to the requel, so it was kind of like Scream 6/Scream 2. And yeah, I thought like the first one, it was the meta-ness was right on par with the first one. And it was fun too because like being kind of a writer and a filmmaker too, it's kind of fun watching these movies where like it's so meta to the point where like you could tell they were just sitting around like brainstorming the movie, and we're like, oh well, it's this because blah blah blah, and then they're just like, instead of doing what most like writers would do is just like talk about it, they just would literally write it in the script and be like, okay, it's very self-aware, and like there were parts where it like definitely like stepped over the line in terms of being like super meta and completely making sense. But yeah, I appreciated it. I thought it was very fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the last one. I thought it was, one thing I'll say off the bat, I think there's levels to the Scream franchise, and that's what I really enjoy about it. But I think what they're doing with this new, the requel, like we'll put it in that category of Scream, is they're really what I enjoyed about this movie was I felt like the characters, I really cared about the characters. Not that I didn't in the last one, but I was really stoked on the Halloween trilogy that they were coming out and doing, and I felt like the first Halloween movie from 2018 was pretty dang good, and they set it up really well. They set up the new parameters of who Laurie Strode is and her family and their survival aspect, and kind of her ongoing war with Michael Myers was more of a psychological one than some of the sequels. We can get into the discussion about Xing out certain sequels that should have been included, in my opinion, but I feel like with this movie, the people behind the Scream franchise are really kind of knocking that part of it out of the park, where they're following a mythology and they're building a new mythology using, and it is self-referential, and that's what we love about Scream. This one, I felt like the first act struggled a little bit. I felt like it took a little bit of time to get into it. Not a lot. I mean, I loved that opening sequence with the two, and we should also say spoilers before we get into this, I think, because it is brand new and we're kind of getting out in front of it. Our own producer hasn't even seen it, and so it's gonna be spoiled pretty ruthlessly for him. But
just think of it like the movie is a live action movie based on this podcast. And then you can judge it and be like, well, I saw the podcast and it was better. So
yeah, it's like the discussion about like a movie that's adapted from a book. The book's always better. Well, this podcast is always better. No, but I really like the characters. I thought they capitalized off what they built in the first one. But the first act, to me, getting into it was a little bit tougher. But when it ramps up, it goes and it doesn't stop. And I thought the pacing was really, really well done.
We had Tony Revolori, which it was in the beginning, like you said, it was a little bit of a, of course, from that plays Flash Thompson from the new Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Also, Orange County boy, that Tony Revolori, or however you pronounce his name. Yeah, he's from, I believe he went to school in Anaheim. He might have been born and raised in Anaheim. So you got to shout that out. But yeah, he was, that the opening sequence, which usually, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it usually start out with a stab parody? Isn't that traditionally how these other movies have started out? I don't think
it always starts with a phone call. Yeah.
Right.
There's always a variation of the phone call, and then it's like how how are they going to do it this time? How meta is the phone call?
Right.
And they still started with the phone call, but then this time it was in a bar, which we've never seen, with a new character. And it's always like, but it's always been in a house. And this time, it was not. It was in a very crowded area, which kind of like was, you know, a good intro to the movie, which is, you know, I like that they took a new angle with it. Like, you know, typically the Scream movies take place in some kind of suburban setting, like, of course, in like the famous house. But, you know, we're used to seeing either that, or we're used to seeing the original traditional horror film, which is like in a rural area where there's not many people, because that's spooky because you're isolated and by yourself. But, you know, I thought this movie did a good job of being the opposite of that, giving us a new perspective of being like in New York, in a huge claustrophobic city where there's people everywhere. Well, it seems like that wouldn't be scary, but in a way that also makes it even scarier, because anybody around you like could be a killer, and you're forced to be around people all the time. So I thought, yeah, that was kind of cool way of setting that up.
Yeah, this is the first one that's taken place outside of Woodsboro, correct? If
I think so. And you just watched all of them before this, right?
I watched the first 3 over the Halloween season, and then, yeah, I just watched 4 and 5 in the last 2 days. But I think number 2 takes place outside of Woodsboro, because that's the one where she's in college. So could be wrong.
I think you're right. And then 3 is like the director and all the Stab franchise and all that.
Yeah, I love that one. I want to piggyback what you said really quick, Dave, because I was a little bit underwhelmed by the New York aspect of the story. I think everything that you said really applies, but I was kind of expecting it to be a little bit bigger. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I went into this expecting Jason Takes Manhattan. You know, but. Which great references to that movie in this one. I love that about these movies. But yeah, I was expecting it to be a little bit more.
Is Jason Takes Manhattan the one where it ends with him down in the sewer and then he dies and transforms back into a child, a mutant child?
I think so. It's
amazing.
It's one of the worst ones, but it's, you know, it's fun and camp and all that stuff. But I guess what I mean too is in terms of, I was expecting the city to be more of a character, and it really wasn't. And it makes sense why it wasn't. This isn't the story about New York. It's a story about these 2 sisters, you know, moving to New York to kind of move on with their lives. And that's an element of this I really enjoyed. I thought Jenna Ortega is awesome. She's really fun to watch and really engaging. I enjoyed her a lot in the Wednesday series. And I think she's perfect to kind of keep this franchise moving forward. But also I want to shout out Melissa Barrera, who played Sam Carpenter, you know, who really is the lead of the story. And I just thought she did such a great job. I have
that in my notes too. I thought she did a better, not that she was bad in the last one, but I definitely thought she did stood out more in this one.
Yeah, and I think I would say that across the board for all the characters. I thought, you know, all of the characters coming into this movie, they all have baggage, and I made a joke about it with you before we jumped on the stream, but the core 4 element I thought was really funny, and obviously supposed to be corny, and I mean there's even jokes made about that, but I love that aspect, and I really left this movie going like, man, I really want to see these characters again.
Yeah, and just again taking things so meta, I thought it was okay. So now super spoilers. Because we're going to talk about who the killer is, and you don't want to know that if you're going to watch it. But what's cool about this one is that they always are one step ahead of you in what you're going to guess. And I thought they did a cool job too, because they essentially, when it's finally revealed who the killer or killers are, they straight up told you towards the beginning of the movie who they most likely would be, and then they're straight up that's who it was,
right?
And or at least two out of the 4, at least 2 out of the prime suspects where they're okay, well, it's obviously you guys because you're just got here, and you're oh, you're that person's roommate, okay,
yeah.
And then it actually was, which is pretty awesome.
And you never assume it, because these characters are already established with the two with Sam and what was the name of Jenna Ortega? Tara. So with Sam and Tara, they're already months into this. Well, I guess Sam isn't in college with Tara, but she's kind of moved to New York to kind of be the shepherd and watch and make sure Tara doesn't get in trouble. I dug it, man. These movies are awesome because you go into them and they're they're self-contained, but I like that they're building a mythology here in a way almost that, almost in a way that Wes Craven didn't with the first 4. I guess he did number 4 too. 4, rewatching 4, it doesn't hold up as well because it's so self-referential that it's a little bit dated now. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen that one. I watched it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I would say, like, going back to even the first one, like at the time it was like incredibly meta, and it was really at a time where like movies weren't like meta. Like you weren't assuming that the audience has like this whole like knowledge base in their minds when they're going to see your movie. And it was like, more of an actual parody but every single Scream is like layered so much onto itself where like now we're at a point where like it's so smart. It's assuming that the viewer is like so smart.
Right.
And we are like, it's like we have such a knowledge base of everything. It's building upon not only the mythology of its own franchise, but of every horror film that's ever come before it. And I thought it was pretty awesome that they got the rights to like so many other things. Like they're like super quick in the subway, but like when they're doing the really cool visual shots of, claustrophobic, the lights conveniently going out for the killer at certain points. But like, it was cool that they had Freddy Krueger. They had, I think someone had like definitely Halloween. I can't remember if there was a Jason mask.
Oh, you're talking about like cool. Because it takes place over the Halloween holiday, so everybody on the subway, and that was cool. And to your point from before, that was really cool too, that it was kind of carried over into the city, because they're walking through New York City and there's people that are dressed up like other horror icons. I thought that was super creative and super unique.
It's this idea that like, anybody that is scary, we're like, that's like the best time to get away with that kind of thing. I mean, the Halloween franchises has done that too, but the easiest way to get away with something is to be super obvious, and you can be in a subway and stab someone and get away with it because there's so many other people with scream masks on, or I should say ghost face.
Yeah, Dave, your camera's tilting up a little bit. I don't know if it got a little loose there, but
I was trying camera move tilting up to make it more dramatic.
All that head banging at the beginning really, or that head bobbing really affected your camera there. It wasn't ready for it.
The world's not ready.
I think this one ranks up there with the overall Scream franchise. I would say.
And I was gonna call out the end too, because I thought it was kind of awesome that this whole time they're playing with Sam, and obviously she's the daughter of Billy, right, from the original Scream, and she's fighting with her like nature, where she has this like darkness like in her, and I thought it was pretty it was pretty awesome at the end where she actually gets to don the ghost face suit and mask, and like when he as soon as what's his name, cop guy, wakes up and he's in a daze, I'm like, oh, no, she's a ghost face, and she got to, it was like a little bit silly, but I thought it was pretty awesome that she got to go full ghost face.
It's almost like a Dexter type situation where she's got these urges, and they really play with that in this movie, and she gets to kind of unleash those, and I don't know, I guess you would say a positive way, because it's on people that are trying to hurt or kill her. But I think that's something that they're playing around with that I really like too. The only thing about that is at the end, when she's kind of she picks up that old Ghostface mask and she's staring at it. I so wanted them to be more nebulous with that, and I'm sure they will be. I don't think that that's probably the end of that struggle. But when she drops it, kind of symbolically being like, I'm making the better choice, or I'm making the choice not to be Ghostface. I almost wish they wouldn't have done that. I wish that they would have left it, if she would maybe have tucked the mask in her purse or her jacket or whatever, just to imply, a little bit more going on.
I mean, it's kind of what I was wondering could be, obviously, like where they're going, if this is going to be like a trilogy. I don't really know what it's going to be, but I was kind of wondering that too. But it does tie up the arc of this movie like really well to have her like, okay, cool. Like, I acknowledge that energy and I'm going to throw it down. So I want to go to the chat real quick. We have Nevada over here. That Nevada is a big Scream fan, and she says she corrected us saying Scream 2 is in Ohio and Scream 3 is in Hollywood. That's what we're saying with the director. And then she's agreed with us saying, same, I want a victim becomes the villain moment, which I would argue we kind of got at the end, which was fun. But I agree too that it kind of would be interesting. Like maybe that theme will still come back. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that they could play with. And that's a little bit, I hate to keep going back to this new Halloween trilogy because it doesn't really, it doesn't really deserve scrutiny. But I that was like what I'm getting from these Scream movies is what I was really hoping for from the Halloween reboot or the Halloween, whatever we're calling it, sequel, true sequel trilogy. That it didn't seem like they're, it didn't seem like they had a built out mythology. It seemed like the first one was so reactionary to the original, and then they were like, we're going to go off in this other direction. And the Scream franchise, like you can tell, really cares about the audience to the point of like that's kind of the plot of the last movie. Dave, how did you feel about the twist when the killers were revealed in terms of having it be the family members of who was it? Who was the last one?
His name was
Huey. Was it Huey?
No, it was like Patrick, or maybe Nevada can. Maybe she remembers.
It was Richie.
It was
Richie.
Richie. That's right, Richie. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it made sense. I mean, especially where it's kind of like I feel like doing a good job of working off the last movie, where that's like, and they made such a point in the first one to have her just go off on him. Like she just like stabs him a million times. She shoots him like a bunch of times. So like, I did think that kind of worked where you have like the family that's like knowing how he died and how savage he died.
Yeah.
I thought it made sense. And also like, I was kind of wondering if at any point they were going to do 3 ghost faces, because it's always been 2, with one exception where it was only 1 as a twist.
Which they talk about that in this movie.
Yeah, so there's actually in a way 3, even though I think only 2 of them are wearing the Ghostface gear, but they have their dad that's kind of like the end boss. And I gotta say, like, I suspected him too when he was like, he says like earlier when they're talking to him, and like supposedly his daughter died, and he's like, anyone who fucks with my family deserves to die. But like something about the way he says, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, wait a minute, buddy.
He really means that.
Yeah, and I like what they did with Kirby. Scream 4 is like my least favorite one of the franchise. But I thought it was cool what they did with Kirby. I thought, I liked the way that they played it, that you didn't really quite know where she came down on it. So that got me. I wasn't really, I didn't really see it coming where she was, the hero in the end, or one of the heroes in the end. But again, that's what this series does so well, is it brings back characters from all these different generations of movies and finds a way to weave them in. Obviously Nev Campbell wasn't in this one. First one that Nev Campbell's not in. First one that David Arquette's not in. But rewatching Scream 5, I love the way he goes out. I love the savagery. And then she even says, Ghostface says after killing him, like, it's been an honor, which is so interesting because really it's it's perspective of the audience. But Scream 5 has the best line in the whole series where, Courtney Cox is talking to the killer and she's like, you killed my best friend. And she goes, yeah, and he died like a pussy. I love that line so much because it's so brutal, after just seeing how he got savaged, in cold blood, and then having her hear that line that's so arrogant. I loved it. But yeah, I
like all the talks about like all the legacy, like how they just broke down like, well, the the legacy characters, they're not safe either, because we're in the age of requels now, especially like to me the biggest one that sticks out is Star Wars, and how they treated like the legacy characters of Star Wars and the backlash of it and everything.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty great.
And it plays so well because you're sitting there like going, in times that you and me are kind of spitballing ideas and stuff, we kind of do the same thing where it's like you get into these debates, right, about like film or movie philosophies and arcs and all this stuff, and you can just, it's so palpable that you can just see the writers in the writers room, discussing legacy, discussing requels, and they always find a great way to use the humor behind that.
They're like, well, it's not, the killer's not going to be one of the core 4 because we're obviously like core 4, we're the protagonists of the story, and it's like, no, I don't know, because one of you guys could snap based on what happened in the last movie, so you could be.
Well,
I enjoyed that.
I love Mindy too. Mindy's character is so great because she thinks she knows everything about, she's the niece, right, of Randy Meeks from the Scream 2. Nevada, was he in Scream 1? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was in just Scream 2, but you know, the way he breaks down and being the uber horror fan, and then with all of this stuff, she's in the midst of being stabbed, and she's just like, I didn't see this coming. You know, like she's more disappointed that she wasn't able to predict the horror tropes.
Yeah, and I think her line, she had probably the most meta line when she was like stabbed, and then I'm trying to remember what she says. I think it's like, she's like, I hate this fucking franchise, which doesn't actually make sense, but it was still funny.
Yeah.
Nevada says, do you think the film fanatic thing is getting played out at all now, or is it the shtick?
I don't think so, and I think it comes down to the choice of the character, and that's why I think I liked Mindy a lot, because she was kind of refreshing in that. And yeah, it's a continuation of the last movie, but I just I definitely think that we will hit that wall soon. I don't know if it's, you know, to your point, Dave, it did seem like the end of you know, the arc in a certain sense with this one. And you know, Sydney's still out there lingering, so she's got to come back at some point. Maybe not. Maybe they can't.
Yeah, and they chose to, they chose to let, of course, let Courtney Cox's character survive.
Yeah,
Gale Weathers for another time. It seemed like maybe she was going to get killed off, but they didn't Luke Skywalker her.
Well, dude, that's kind of my thing too that I wanted to bring up to you. How many people in this movie got stabbed in vital organs and survived? And I couldn't.
Quite a few.
It bothered me a little bit, because I was like, you know, they even make a mention of, like, I don't remember if it was in the last one or one of the previous movies, but they have a discussion about, like, nobody's safe, right? It's like the Game of Thrones thing. Your favorite.
Yeah, it's character. Like, oh, this is a sequel to the first one, so no one's safe this time.
But they didn't do that in this. I mean, there's a scene where that girl got stabbed in the stomach, and Ghostface literally rips the sword up through the most vital organs in a human body, and she didn't die until she crawled across that ladder, and Ghostface knocked her off onto the ground. So I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if they were purposefully, in a comedic sense, trying to play with that idea, and you know, purposefully, because again, Courtney Cox kind of gets shot or stabbed in every movie and survives. So I didn't know if it was like, I didn't know if it was like commentary on that, and it was kind of, you know, a wink and a nod kind of a thing. But yeah, nobody died in this movie from, you know, or none of the main characters died from being stabbed pretty viciously.
Yeah, Vince, keep your earmuffs on. Nevada says Scream 2. He's an Ohio boy, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and then I mean, I think the best example of that, Eli, was Chad, that gets stabbed like an insane amount of times by two. There's like two Ghostface, right? They're just like wrecking him, and then he still, the very end, he survives. Hopefully, you didn't hear that with your earmuffs, Vince.
Yeah, Vince.
I was just gonna say, oh yeah, to call Nevada out again. I saw this movie with her, and I just want to say that she made the bold claim that she thinks Scream is now the best horror franchise. And I wanted to get everyone's reactions to that, because that is a bold statement.
Whoa.
And let us know in the comments. Oh, here comes Whiskey Vince.
I'm back, all right?
Your earmuffs off.
It depends on how you quantify that. It depends on what it is specifically that you're talking about. I think in terms of cohesion, I don't know that I necessarily disagree with her. That's the thing with horror that's so interesting, is even with something like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, you can see them trying to build a mythology, and then at some point something breaks down. It might be an actor. You know, in the case of Friday the 13th, they tried kind of rebooting it, soft rebooting it with Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman had to go do Goonies. So
which they call out in this movie too, which is great.
Yeah.
We're like, oh well, I'm a Corey Feldman.
Yeah, I had a crush on Corey Feldman. I know, I love that. Anytime Corey Feldman gets called out, I'm in for it. But I don't know. That's interesting, because I think my favorite horror movie of all time is the original Carpenter Halloween. But it's like, if you look at the franchise, that franchise is
it's hard to compare. But Vince really wants to say something. He's here.
I have something for Nevada, and I guess for you guys too, mainly Nevada.
Uh-oh.
I feel like Nevada's
Remember, this is our show, Vince.
I'll shut down the screen in a second. But I feel like Nevada's negating the whole series of the Leprechaun movies. And she's not, like, if we're talking about series,
deep cuts, dude.
They went to. I'm pretty sure they went to space at some point. They went.
Are those out in 4K? I know there was a huge clamor for them.
I think they're only on VHS.
Are they even in HD?
No, they're not even on DVD.
It's weird. Vudu and all the digital platforms specifically say we have them in VHS format. So I thought that was weird.
They're like, we'll ship you the VHSs, but that's all we got.
Yeah, nostalgia, baby.
Well, what do you have to say to that, Nevada? Nevada's putting like these emojis in here. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what those emojis are.
She's a Twitch kid, dude. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
But I don't like. That's a very interesting, Nevada. That's a very interesting statement. And I initially want to bristle at it, but I don't think I can. Like, I think in terms of relevancy and in terms of mythology, they find a way to make it fresh. And
because yeah. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like, and the only reason Scream is here is because it's based on the horror films that came before.
Yeah,
it's based on that mythology, and it wouldn't exist otherwise. PG Tree says Scream is by far my fave, so I guess she agrees with that. And Nevada says there's cohesion in the Scream franchise.
That's
there
true.
is.
And then how long has the series been going? Because I saw something that said like 20 something years.
Almost 20 years. 96. Well, I guess it is 20 years. Yeah, I guess it's going on 30 years at this point.
So it's not exactly crazy. Halloween that's been around since the 70s, but that's a pretty long time at this point.
But in the sense of how many movies they've done,
no, it's fine.
I'm kind of with her on this one, and I'd never even really thought about it because I definitely like Eli. I do love the Halloween movies, and like what is this, the 6th movie? They don't have like that awkwardness where it's like, okay, only watch the first 2 and then skip all of the rest.
Yeah, 100%.
And then this one, like they all are good.
Watch
in their
part
own
1
sense.
and 2 and Jason X.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the
or you don't have a Season of the Witch where it's like you have 2 Michael Myers movies, and then all of a sudden the third one is like, oh, he's not in it at all. Oh, yeah. We're gonna take this in it. And I love Season of the Witch. I think Season of the Witch doesn't get the credit it deserves because of that departure from Michael Myers, but. Yeah, it's weird. There's so much baggage with horror franchises that you and the other thing I'll say too, just from a strictly, you go to any elementary school Halloween parade, Ghostface is going to be in there.
That's true,
Those
man. Kids
love Ghostface, and I don't know what that says about America or kids, but it definitely is always relevant. Like you always see those masks and you always see that represented. That and Chucky.
I was about to say you'll also see Chucky, dude. Which I was working at an elementary school and the kids were coming in Chucky shirts, and I was like, I don't know if you've watched this or if you should have watched this. And they had like the Bride of Chucky, like one of the kids had a Bride of Chucky shirt, and I was like, I need that shirt.
Well, it's all about Seed of Chucky.
Yeah. Seed of Chucky. See, that's what I'm talking. What we're talking about, the Seed of Chucky. That's I think Nevada's statement stands. I can't think of another. Like Saw has how many movies now? Like 27. I can't watch the Saw movies. They're too much. It's too much gore porn. I don't enjoy like. The gore element of horror movies isn't necessarily what I go to horror movies for. I mean, I love in Scream. The other thing Scream does really well is they reinvent the kills. I always look out for that, and I'm always excited to see what they do with it. And it's always something new and always something creative. So that's another part of it. I think Nevada's right. Dude, I think
it's just smart, dude. Yeah, they're just so smart at this point because they're so like, I guess you would call them postmodern, like extreme postmodernism, and we're in an age where like everything feels like it has to be postmodern, and I feel like I'm like really sick of that, honestly. Like I feel like Deadpool did it pretty well for the most part, but like you're right, like it's a shtick that like how many times can you draw attention to the fact that you're self-aware? Yeah. But I feel like these movies do it in such a smart way, and they use it as commentary for like the world and for other films, and like so I don't know.
You know why though? Because they're honest about it. It's not used as some cheap like gimmick. They're honest about the state of the world, but also the state of like the film industry. In a way, it's super refreshing. And the other thing too is like you have different visions going on now. This was started. The first 4 movies were done by Wes Craven, and were kind of his babies. He's no longer here. You have these other guys. I think they did Ready or Not, which I didn't particularly care for, but they're just knocking these movies out of the park. I hope they go to space. I hope we get to a place of I'm over the multiverse stuff. I'd love to see a multiverse movie with all of the horror icons, like Freddy versus Jason on steroids and good. I would love to see that.
Dude, it'd be amazing. What was the movie? Or Freddy. Okay, wait. What was the movie where that like did it for the first time? Where
Alien versus Predator, I believe.
Jason. Okay, there was one of the Friday the 13th where at the end.
Oh, where Freddy
like pulls him into hell. Was that Jason Goes to Hell? Okay, that makes sense.
No, because I think that was leading up to Jason Goes to Hell. I think that was the one right before it.
I mean, I gotta say, with that one, I was expecting Jason to actually be in hell, but instead he was like, didn't go to hell until the end, and then we didn't get to see hell. But
yeah, I thought it was going to be Jason kind of traversing the different layers of hell and finding his way out, but it didn't. It
Yeah,
didn't work like that.
yeah. I want to see that movie. Traverses the 13 layers of battle. He battles Mephisto. Nevada's okay. Yeah, so Nevada has another connected dot. She says Ready or Not was great. I agree. I liked Ready or Not. Samara Weaving, the new Drew Barrymore for Scream, which
Good point.
Yeah, which is she was in this movie, and yeah, she's kind of in a lot of places too.
I didn't see that connection. Interesting. So what if you're going to give this a score? What are you going to? How about this? Let's do this instead of doing the like elementary school report card. Rank the Scream series, all 6. Rank them. And I'm doing this specifically so that you don't have time to think about it that much. Because
I watched them all last Halloween, or I think like a year ago. So yeah, I think I mostly remember. For me, 3 was the least that I didn't like. Is that a double negative? That I least
but that's okay. It's our stream. We can do whatever we want.
Okay. So so we're ranking them like in order. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. Okay. Maybe I'll go. Man, I said this for 5. Like I'm tempted to say like 5 is the best one, and I feel like 6 is kind of like right on par with 5. Like it seems messed up to not put number 1 as the best because it started it all and it like was so good. But I don't know, man. 5 and 6 have just been so smart that like I'm gonna put those at the top, and then 1's after, and then I'll probably go, maybe 2 next, and then 4, and then 3. But I mean, 4 was pretty good too. I remember you were talking about 4 too. You were saying you like the twist in 4.
Yeah.
Peachtree says she loved 3.
Yeah, I love 32. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4.
Okay, so that's not too far. Okay, so Nevada says the opinion we've all been waiting for: 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 4. So that's pretty. We're not too far off. Vince says, Whiskey Vince says 1, 5, 2, 3, 4.
I love that it's like he sadly left 6 off the list completely because he can't place it yet.
That one's
That's
to be
great.
announced, dude.
Yeah,
Dude, you got to go see it.
Okay,
For
so
sure.
okay, you guys decided to put 1 in the beginning. Okay, that's fine.
If I may, I think 5 and 2 are tied for me. I love 2. I love the opening of 2. The movie theater,
Dude, in the movie theater, me
it's
too.
so
me
good,
too.
dude.
I love
So
it.
Peachtree just thinks they've gotten progressively worse with each passing movie. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
She's just counting now.
No,
Let's see
she's
where
talking
she
about
put 6.
She's talking about Leprechaun. She just didn't clarify.
Peachtree, we're not just counting. We're not practicing our counting. We're talking about the Scream movies.
I think for me the first one has to rank first because of Stu Macher and Billy Loomis.
Yeah,
2,
yeah.
for me, 2 is up high because it's where they established the Stab series. I think
Oh, that's true.
it's so funny now too that like the actual Scream movies are hitting Stab territory with all, because that was the joke, right? It was like Stab 6 directed
7,
by Robert
yeah.
Rodriguez, and here we are,
Yeah.
we're up there.
Yeah, but it's so funny because even that, like, introducing the Stab series was like the next level of meta,
Yeah.
right? And then now we're at like the 3rd or 4th level of meta where like they can use the fact that they're Stab series to talk about themselves fully and their place within the all of filmmaking. Yeah, okay, you guys are right. 2 did something so original. I agree. You guys are right. You convinced me. I don't know. So basically, I feel like most of us feel like maybe 1 and 2 are kind of right up at the top with these new ones, probably. 3 and 4 kind of ran out of ideas a little bit.
Yeah, and I think 4, to me, 4 just doesn't hold up as well. I remember seeing that one in the theaters and enjoying it. And some of the dialogue in that movie is a little bit iffy, and some of the performances are a little bit iffy. But I think watching it in 2023, because you got the kid that's like live streaming. Not to say that doesn't happen all the time now, but it's just the mechanics of it are a little bit weird. But that one has the strength of having a Culkin as one of the Ghostface killers. So. That works in his favor too. With all that said, the worst Scream movie is still an enjoyable thing for me, and I love watching them during the Halloween. You know, they're kind of the quintessential Halloween movies.
And I think what's great about them too is that they don't run the risks of taking themselves too seriously, like almost all horror movies, where you get to a point and we're like, okay, that's kind of campy, and they thought it looked awesome. And a lot of them are a lot older, so obviously you have to put it in context. But like Scream has the out of being like, okay, we're gonna have all these meta levels, but at the same time, we're not gonna take ourselves seriously. Like, we understand that we're a slasher movie, and slasher movies have always been silly since the dawn of time. By dawn of time, I mean the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that actually long, but yeah, I don't know. Would you agree with that? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think like the cool thing of Scream does what a lot of horror movies don't do, and they add layers. To your point, you know, we could have this discussion about ranking of these movies, but really it's hard because everybody has different reasons for liking them, and this is, you know, at the risk of sounding like an idiot, they're more philosophical too, on a certain level, and that's cool because that leaves some stuff up for debate, you know, but yeah, I hope 7's already in development. This one is crazy. I forgot that it's been like a year since 5 came out, and it had been it's been 11 or 12 before that. So I keep them coming. I saw an article, and I just read the headline. I didn't read the actual article, but it said that Scream producers found a way to keep making Ghostface movies for the next 100 years. So I don't know. Scream movies might outlast America. You never know.
Yeah. There will be nothing left of our civilization but cockroaches and Scream movies. That's probably fine if they judge humanity based on that. I'd be kind of okay with it.
If the U.S. Treasury Department came out tomorrow and was like, we're going to reissue all of our money on all of the different bills we're changing from the presidents or founding fathers to the different Ghostface killers, I'd be like, all right, let's do it. Let's see.
And I just want to close by saying that a little PSA. I don't know who out there is listening to this that needs to hear this, but there is a point where you can have too much plastic surgery. So just stop. You know, it's okay. You can get Courtney Cox. Yeah. You can get old. It's okay. Like everyone does it, and just embrace it. It's fine.
You've earned those wrinkles. You know what I'm saying? And I know the industry is not nice to women past a certain age, but you've earned it, right? And you're on Friends. You're super rich. You're above all this vanity. Just be you, Courtney Cox. I agree with you. And she actually talked about it. Did you see those articles that or she did an interview where she talked about it, and she goes, "Yeah, I got too many face fillers." but the interesting thing that she said was that at the time she felt so old, so she was doing plastic surgery to look young. But now when she looks back on it, she realizes that she wasn't old at all and wish she didn't do it. So I thought that was a very enlightened perspective.
I feel like our culture has done a good job with that in general. Where like, you know, I feel like maybe, you know, at the height of her career in the 90s, it was a little more materialistic in that aspect, where like, you know, it was more about like, you know, being terrified of those kind of things, what you look like. But I feel like now people are a little more open-minded to be like, hey, it's cool. Like, embrace that. Like, you have natural beauty. Anyway, I don't want to derail this.
I don't know that I agree. I don't know about that one. I think people are getting face work way younger now than they ever have. And it shows. I mean, I see people that are in their 20s that have, you know, and we shouldn't get into this, but it's an interesting perspective. And I just, you know,
what's everyone's opinions on skincare?
Wrinkle up. Let's go. You've earned it. The whole point of life is to stay alive and get older. Wrinkle up. There's nothing wrong with it.
#wrinkle up.
And I can speak to this because I was a 5-year-old today told me that I was old in a kindergarten class. I went to pick up my daughter, and she looked at me and she goes, "You're old, huh?" And I was like, yeah, I'm getting there. You know, I'm getting there. And so kids are the most vicious, you know, forget Ghostface. Kids under the age of 5 are the most vicious. But yeah, do you, let's talk a little bit about The Last of Us. We're a little bit behind. We got on a good streak there for a minute, and we were really kind of covering it week to week, but we've taken a little bit of a lapse, and a lot has happened since the last time we talked about The Last of Us. Episode 7, I believe, is where we left off. Dave, what do you think about number one? How much of episode 7 was from the game? I always start there.
Yeah. And I'm glad, you know, you really make me feel like I'm a wise sage that has all the answers. And, you know, you can come to me and I can say, well, you know, that was not in the game.
Yeah, yeah, that's my goal.
That's
what I'm aiming
say it
for.
like that. Yeah, so I was an episode. I caught up on my episodes this time, and we have 7 and 8 to talk about. Yeah, so I had kind of forgotten this, but okay, so episode 7, this is the one where most of it is a flashback to Ellie. When before she met Joel, a little bit before she met Joel, and when she was taken by her friend that wanted to hang out with her, and shows her they go to the mall and all that. So all that is really loyal to not the game, but the DLC that came out after the first game. So
interesting.
So it wasn't in the game. So where you first see these like lesbian tendencies from Ellie, that's actually not in Last of Us game at all. It was in a DLC that came out after, and part of that too was based on this like limited comic series that came out called American Dreams. And some of that was in there too. They took some of that and put it in the DLC, which now was then that was taken into the show. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, I remembered playing this, and like it's really fun because you play as Ellie the whole time, obviously, and it deals with a lot of that. So I thought it was pretty cool that they did that. The carousel, the photos. What was a little bit different was the arcade. There was an arcade in the DLC and all that, but it was not. It wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was called just like something else that wasn't real. But I was reading an article that was pretty cool. That was the creators saying that they originally wanted Mortal Kombat. They wanted it to be Mortal Kombat because when The Last of Us game first came out, they were under fire from people for it being like too violent. Like it was like too real for people, and like particularly like parents were getting mad about it. And so they wanted it to be Mortal Kombat because Mortal Kombat is back from the 90s, and they also were getting hit with the same things back in the 90s where like everyone was saying that it was like too graphic and they were kind of up in arms about it. So they thought it was pretty awesome that like they were able to make it actually Mortal Kombat for this episode.
Yeah, and I want to say something a little controversial here now that a lot of people might not agree with me on, but I feel like I need to say it. I would love to live in an abandoned mall. I just think it's so rad.
Whoa!
No, I know. Listen, I was expecting some backlash on this, but I want to be clear. I don't mean any mall. I mean a mall that's really lost to time. And you see it every once in a while on YouTube. There's urban explorers and people that go into abandoned buildings and abandoned malls specifically all the time. I want to live in like a mall that closed in 97, that still has a Sam Goody. They still have a Suncoast. And what I want to do is I want to retrofit all of the different stores as different rooms. So when I have people come over, they can stay. It's like, oh, do you want to stay? Do you want to stay in Gymboree? That one maybe is a little bit weird. We'll do a second. We'll do a second
Gymboree.
Yeah, we'll do.
You
can't
go to Gymboree because that's going to have all the little kids that are going to judge you and say really mean things to you, and then you're going to feel old.
That's where you're going to get the fat blast from a 4-year-old. So never mind on Gymboree.
We have Chance and Penner in the chat. It's blowing my mind because I thought we were Chance and Penner, but says Eli is a Sears boy.
Well, I have a hunch that was producer Vince. I wouldn't classify myself as a busted. You're busted.
I saw those khakis you're wearing, dude. You're a Sears boy.
No, those are from Kohl's. Sears doesn't exist where I live at all. There's remnants of them, and you still see them, but no, I'm not a Sears boy. I would occasionally enjoy a good Sears run.
Remnants of Sears though for future generations.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. That can just represent us too.
We should do it as like a museum. Like somebody should buy a mall and just have it be like put the stores behind glass, charge people to go in. But I really want to buy an abandoned mall, and I want to just completely redo the whole thing, and then you offer it as an Airbnb. Can you imagine? Like,
oh, dude, do you make it post-apocalyptic, or do you just make it just a literal mall?
No, you make it almost like you're putting a VR headset on.
It should be a time machine, dude.
I love like a Stranger Things.
The mall is a time machine itself.
Like you go into it and it's the 90s, dude.
I definitely think I definitely think it can transport
Not
you.
an actual time machine.
There's certain things that just don't exist
Not
anymore
literally.
that I would love to see it.
Dave, so whoa, you can do that?
No, but seriously, the mall would be a literal time machine. No, that's a sweet idea though. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and that's what I think is cool about this show is that we've seen a lot with like post-apocalyptic or dystopian societies like this kind of thing, but it is cool. Like they even talk about like the looting a little bit when they're like, what happened to this shop? Everybody thought they needed this thing.
Yeah.
My question is, where's Moss Guy in all this? Because there wasn't a lot of Moss, and we all know that Moss Guy is the best asset that this series has. Maybe he'll come back in the next one.
I feel like they have to pull Moss Guy from his smoke breaks every single time. And just the nature of Moss Guy, he's out there booting like non-filtered cigarettes just over and over and over.
He knows how much they need him.
Yeah.
Paging Moss Guy, please.
And he's always, for some reason, his walkie-talkie earpiece is always out. So like a PA has to be like, "Hey, we need you again back on set." And he's like, "Fine."
I'm really, really sorry, Moss Guy. I apologize. Finish up your cigarette, but I think we could really use you back there.
Well, and good luck now that it's a hit show. Good luck getting Moss Guy to do anything because he's like, yeah, I've proven my work.
So you know how many Moss Guys are out there? 2, and I'm one of them.
Moss Guys is a dying art form. All right,
Moss Guys don't grow on trees. All right, Moss does, but not Moss Guys. Okay.
My father was a Moss Guy. My grandfather
worked on Moss Isley. That's how he. It's not literal, but he took the name.
He did the set dressing for No. He's from Moss Isley. It's like, okay, all right, Moss Guy. You took LSD again before work, didn't you? Just putting moss around. Yeah. I thought it was, going back to the relevant topic we were talking about, I thought it was a good episode. It was a little bit, like some of these episodes are so long and they don't, it was a little bit, it reminded me of episode 3 a lot where it kind of deviated. But I thought, it informed, right? It informed the overall story that we were watching in a way that paid off. They gave you more about who Ellie was in a way that I didn't feel like episode 3 did. I feel like episode 3 was an 1.5-hour episode that, the end, you get a car and some ammunition out of it. Not to say those things aren't vital, especially in a post-apocalyptic setting, but I'm a straight up story boy, so I like to see the continuation.
I would value horror masks, like personally, above ammunition and those kind of things personally, but that's probably why I wouldn't survive. But
I can relate with that's what I loved about this episode. I'm obviously joking about buying them all because I don't have the money to buy one, but I love it really does it captures your imagination of what that would be like. And I think that's why you always in a lot of stuff that is post-apocalyptic, you do see an abandoned mall because everybody would love to have that experience.
Maybe we can get a GoFundMe going to let Eli buy a mall.
I'd love that.
Maybe that's.
I already have the mall picked out. There's 2 by me that are not going to be around in the next 2 years, and I'd love to jump on that while it's hot.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this episode.
Should we talk about Vince says same in all caps? Should we talk about I guess Nevada and Peachtree are not as opinionated about this topic, but that's okay.
Look, if it's not about Ghostface, they just don't want to talk about it.
Sorry, we didn't go on for another hour about the Scream franchise. Okay, let's talk about episode 8.
Yes.
Yeah, and since I represent the game, I just want to say the game. It reminded me of playing the game, this part, because it's pretty crazy because you play as Joel the whole movie, or not movie, game, and you have certain things at your disposal. You have to use stealth, you have to use your power, you have to use aim, you have to construct detonators and grenades and stuff from scrap that you find and be really smart as you play it. I got angry a lot of times because I had a lot of clickers rip my throat out. But this is the first time in the game where you actually play as Ellie, and it forces you to play with Ellie. And it's kind of you're shocked at first because you're and she plays completely differently. Not as much physical strength, not as much, skill as Joel does. And it kind of made me, remember that. And yeah, she's kind of untrained, and it makes everything more scary. But aside from that, including that, there were not very many. This was another episode where they're really true to the game. the only real difference was that this was more, there was more backstory of the David Pastor character in this one. They made him like formerly he was a teacher and all that. And then at the very end, in the game, Joel comes in and witnesses Ellie like murdering him, like decimating him at the end, and then they kind of have to deal with that in the game. In the show, they decided not to do that. Joel does not see her do that, so maybe they're kind of trying to go with more of an angle where like she needs to work with that. Maybe she's gonna keep it to herself, not share that with Joe, and go with that as more of a psychological thing. Peachtree says that guy was creepy.
He was.
I chose to put that inflection on it. That wasn't her.
Dude, first the Botox stuff, now this, and we're gonna lose all of our female audience. I love this episode. This might be my favorite episode of the season so far. It just had so many, so many things to inform the story, but the character work was just awesome, and really culminated in such a much more deeper, rich connection with Joel and Ellie. Again, as somebody that didn't play the game, that's something that they kind of had to work a little bit more to get into, but now they're just off and running. And it's the crazy thing about this show is because, before we got into this, I had expressed that I was kind of over the whole zombie genre, and I felt like it was more of the same. There's not that many zombies in this show. It's not. They've
only been in like 3 of the episodes.
Yeah, it's not about the zombies. It's so much about Joel and Ellie in these different scenarios, and I loved it. I love that moment. One of my favorite things from this episode was the moment that she gets the penicillin and she's sitting there trying to figure out, not having any knowledge on how any of this works. She's trying to figure out what to put it, and she just goes, screw it, and does it. And I remember sitting there watching that, going, like, putting myself in that position of what would the next 5 minutes after you did that be like? It'd be you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, a little bit, because you're trying to help this person that needs this stuff, but you don't know what you're doing. And it just, I don't know, the episode was so effective in making you feel. It sounded like way depressive, like I haven't felt, and then I watch this episode and now I feel, but I just
made me feel things.
It transports you to this world and in this scenario in a way that I imagine the game does. And I keep hearing week to week that we talk about this from both you and Vince, like how much it is close to the game. And it's kind of amazing that they're able to do that when how many video game movies or video game TV shows have come out and failed and people hate them, and there's all this backlash, and this one just seems to break the mold and by copying the mold essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think gaming in general, games get so much more respect now from as they're around and they're getting better and better and better. You're also having people are also aging more, people that have actually grown up playing these games instead of getting these like filmmakers that like have never gamed before in their lives and are like, oh, well, those are games. Like we do films and we make them better. And I'm going to reinvent this because I'm better. Well, then you fail. It's like, well, sometimes things need to be reworked. But also sometimes there's a reason that something is a masterpiece and you leave it alone, dude, and you do it. And, it's like, don't overthink it.
Yeah, so we're on episode 8. I think it's a 10-episode season. Are they leaving a lot of stuff out from that first game to make?
It's actually 9. So actually, the next, I believe the next one is going to be the finale. That's on Sunday.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Dave. I think this next one is the last one for the season, which leaves us halfway through the game, Dave?
That's what I was wondering. Do you remember, Vince? Because I also was wondering. I also was seeing stuff that said that maybe, I think people are still debating it. I don't think people know, because there are other people saying, well, maybe they could, because other people are saying maybe they do feel like they've kind of hit all the major like emotional beats and they might be able to do the rest. Spoilers. Vince and I know how it ends.
I feel like there's so much that
there's a lot of shit that goes down.
Bastards. Which I'm gonna go based off of like, not like the emotional stuff for sure. They've already, like, Eli hasn't played the game, but he's already emotionally captured and loved. We'll someday play it. He's been captured.
He's emotional.
But like visually, a lot of the stuff in the game, I guess, would probably be pretty hard to do in a TV show. there's a zoo part, Dave, that I've been waiting for this series.
Yeah, me too.
Which that could potentially be the end, like the last episode could have that in it, and it would be fantastic. But I'm hoping that they're splitting the story in half for the TV series.
Yeah, I don't know if we know the runtime of the last episode, because I was thinking maybe if it's like an hour and a half, they could do it. But I'm also kind of hoping that too, because I'm wondering like, okay, what is their full, it does make sense to kind of split the game up into like 2 seasons. Because also like, I'm like, how do you in 1 year go from the entire first game to the entire second game?
Which I'm not ready for the second game to be the second season. So I'm hoping
Yeah, completely. And yeah.
Although
I won't say anything else about it because of spoilers, but
I just feel like there's so much, and they could just for HBO's sake, they could hold off and continue this, because it's not like people are going to lose interest,
Look, that's great. You guys know a lot about the game. That's awesome. My question is, how much moss will be dispensed in episode 9? Because that's how do you pay it off,
dude? That's what I'm saying. There's a lot more moss in store if they delay it.
That's where Moss Guy's been this whole time. He's been working on the sets that are coming up for the next one. That's where he was really needed. So,
dude, Dave, I was going to tell you this: the Moss Guy shows up in Mandalorian episode 1. There's a character that's straight up Moss Guy. That has just, you can tell Moss Guy was like, they gave Moss Guy free reign to do what he wanted, and he's like, I got.
So I'll write him into the script. You're now a character called Moss Guy.
Kathleen Kennedy was like, there's no rules, there's no canon, just do you, Moss Guy. And he was like, all right, thanks.
You, Moss Guy.
Thanks, Kath.
We're not going to tell you anything. You just do whatever you want.
No,
so I'm going to make an entire guy out of Moss.
That's literally a character that's on that episode. But we won't get into Mandalorian. We'll keep it to Last of Us.
That's next week.
Another fun fact. So the guy that's James in this that works with that's one of the sort of like minions of David is James, and he's played by Troy Baker, which is the dude that did the voice of Joel in the game.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of awesome that he got a little cameo. Not the coolest, I guess, but he got to be tortured, so that's cool.
Nice. Well, I always love tortured guys, especially the ones that did the original voice of the video game character. So that's cool that they're loyal. They're loyal to their people. That's cool.
Peachtree says, "Oh, sorry. Good.
No, I was just gonna say in the Uncharted movie, there's a scene with I forgot the guy's name, Nathan Drake or something like that. Maybe that's the name of the character. But the guy that did the voice in the video game, there's a scene and it's so obvious that it's a cameo. This one was great because he was just like in the
I didn't at all realize it. Show. And he has a pretty distinct voice too, and I didn't know at all. But yeah, Peachtree says there's absolutely no way they can't do a part 2 to the first game. Yeah, I think so. We'll see. I don't know what their plan is. And I was just gonna say it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome at the end. You had once the building started burning, I was like, my memory came back, and I was like, oh yes. And it's weird. The ending of episode 8 kind of reminded me of this little known short film called Glass Darkly, in which kind of a similar thing was going down. There's a little bit of a perhaps rapiness going on. And then the tables get turned, and the female heroine goes out with a dagger and stabs him a bunch of times. And it just reminded me of that film.
Yeah. Not as much, not as good, of course, but I guess they attempted, and that's all you can really expect from people. But
Glass Darkly, film that we worked on.
Go look at it. Go watch it.
That's our self-promoting segue,
which we don't do enough of on here, if we're being honest. So episode 9, is that this Sunday? So that's the finale.
Yeah, that's the finale. I guess there's going to be 9 episodes. So yeah, I kind of am like, oh wow, we watched 8 episodes. It doesn't seem like that, but yeah, I'm really excited. It definitely has. I had my doubts about the series a little bit and before I watched it, but I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah, well, definitely next week have to talk about that, and after having the whole first season completed, we can maybe revisit some of the other episodes and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really really tempted to try and play the game in the interim between season 1 and season 2. I want to be like you guys. I want to know where to expect the Moss guy. I want to know where, to be able, so I don't have to come on here and look like an idiot and go, hey, Dave, is this part of the game or is it just a TV show?
So is this a game? I'm like, oh, no, that wasn't in the game.
Okay, I'll go back to my corner. Yeah. But
you want to be cool? I get it.
Speaking of cool, I brought in 2 trailers that I thought it would be a good to cap off this week's show. A lot going on. Scream, Last of Us winding down. 2 trailers came out in the past week that I thought were interesting. One of them pertains to something that Dave and I have always loved, and that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A little controversial. I've seen a lot of people pissed off, which is not surprising on the internet when it comes to movies or IPs that are beloved. But I thought we could look at that one. And then the Haunted Mansion movie, which is something that I have been tentatively excited about since they announced it. They announced it, a decade ago with Guillermo del Toro and never did anything. They even went so far.
Did he do anything on it? Like he wasn't.
He made a poster. He made a teaser poster that they gave out at Comic-Con, I think in like 2000.
We were like, Guillermo's, oh my God, Guillermo's going to be a part of this. It's going to be awesome. And then he just did nothing. And
dude, I don't get that guy. I don't get is he just, he's like, no, I want to do my own original stuff, or
I don't feel, I went from like thinking he was a great filmmaker to being like, I guess I'm not that into him actually, to now being like, is he even an actual filmmaker? Because it seems like anything he's like a part of, he kind of just does like something, but isn't really like actually a part of doing anything.
Well, there's always movies like I remember The Mountain of Madness was another movie that he was supposed to do, and they announced it, and just nothing ever came of it. It's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Was Pan's Labyrinth just like him scribbling down some sketches on like a napkin or something, and then they're like, we have to put his name on it? I don't know. I'm rethinking all of reality now. Vince says, haha, if we're being honest, he's the best of posters and trailers. You might be right, dude. Kind of. I mean, Tim Burton is a little bit like that, but
all of his movies are made to look in the trailer like they're horror films, and then you watch them, and it's like, oh, this isn't a horror film. This is a lady fall in love with a fish, and now I got to sit here for another 2 hours and endure this weird bestiality tale that's not told very well, in my opinion.
Hey, Vince man, loved it. That movie was not as bad. Did he have any part of? Did he have any part of Hellboy?
Yeah, he did the first 2.
He did the first 2, right? What's the name of the fish movie? Is it something water?
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water. That was pretty much Abe from Hellboy, correct?
Yeah, it seemed like it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it was the same actor that played.
Was it really?
That played Ape Sapien. But the also he did Blade 2, which is, we got to give him credit because that's a pretty good movie, and it's beloved by the Blade. It's always, whenever there's any talk about Blade, everybody's like, "Barry's good Blade 2. They better have blood."
Dude, I've never seen the Blade movies.
What?
Yeah, never.
The first and second one are
they're hard to go back to, man. They're hard to go back to now. But
I don't know, dude. That scene where they're in the club and they just the vampire club and they just spray blood throughout the whole thing is pretty awesome. And that's Guillermo, I think. I think that was his movie that he did it. But anyway,
so it was my idea to spray the blood.
So let's go again. Let's spray the blood. Get the Moss guy out of here. We don't need the Moss guy right here. Let's get the blood guy. The blood guy's like just has like dark black bangs and he smokes, but it's like he's got one of those Cruella de Vil holders where he's just like, "Are they ready for the blood guy?" And they're like, "Yeah, Gary, let's go."
We were just gonna call you Gary, but we can call you Blood Guy. It's fine.
He's all, "Call me B guy." It's like, what? That's not even creative. All right, but Vince, if we can queue up Haunted Mansion, I'll run it from my end. But I figure we start there. I definitely have my thoughts on this, and I'm looking forward to watching it with you guys because I know,
we're going to try this out, and we're hoping it's not going to... The last time we tried to do Watch Party, it crashed the entire feed.
I was going to say, thank you, Dave.
If that happens, you might have to...
It took down all of YouTube, to be honest. It crashed the whole system, which, we're flattered by, but...
Yeah, my whole block went down, actually. All the power went out, so hopefully that doesn't happen again.
All right, here we go. If it does go down, anyone that is watching, just refresh and maybe give us a minute or two. We're hopeful. We'll check this out. There's a reason why we saved it to the ending part of the stream. All right, here we go.
All right. Welcome home. I know this place isn't as warm as I'd hoped, but I'm going to light a vanilla candle, and it's going to be a game changer.
Will it though?
We're out.
Martha's mansion is unhinged. She needs all the help she can get. You want to be a hero?
Pass.
$2,000.
What's the address?
I'm gonna move into a house without windows, so I won't see you walking by.
Guys,
Walking by
little help?
with your new.
No, I just saw that.
This house has a way of playing tricks on you. Oh my
That box
God.
ghost?
Is anybody else seeing
That box
this?
goes.
Yeah, I'm seeing
Jared
it.
Leto.
Oh no, it's Jared Leto.
Be careful.
Jared Leto.
Death lurks around every corner.
Other more powerful entities may come through.
Not on our watch.
Well, what are you gonna do? Seriously.
They're already dead.
You're gonna be deader.
Okay.
Joke. I don't know about that joke, guys. So look,
There we go. We're still here.
I don't. Yeah, let's celebrate that. First of all, that's great. I don't know what to think about this. That trailer gives you zero info. I get it's a teaser, right? It gives you zero information on what this story is, and it doesn't necessarily. It almost appears as if it's the same kind of format as the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion movie.
Yeah, I was
where
gonna say that.
it's people reacting to what's happening, and they're trying to derive comment. Number one, let's
They're
set
like, there's ghosts here, but it's like, well, but why are they there? Like, what's the story? What's the story?
let's set the story up correctly. So the Haunted Mansion attraction at Disneyland opened in 1969, and it took almost 10 years for them to make the Haunted Mansion ride. And the reason was because they couldn't figure out if they wanted to make it scary or if they wanted to make it funny. And all the Imagineers kind of were split. Mark Davis was, when you look at old artwork, or if you look at rides like the Pirates of the Caribbean, Country Bear Jamboree, Haunted Mansion, the lead animator that developed a lot of those characters and a lot of the comedic gags, so to speak, Jungle Cruise as well, was a guy named Mark Davis. And Mark Davis is a Disney Imagineer that's a legend, right? So he came down on the side of like, no, let's make it more fun. Let's kind of alleviate a little bit more of the scary with the silly. And then there was other Imagineers that wanted to do it straight up horror, and they wanted to make it scary. And I think that's why you have an attraction that kind of stands the test of time and people still love it. I was there literally at Disneyland last night. It was a 45-minute wait for Haunted Mansion, 60, 70 years later from when it was open. So that's kind of amazing. I don't feel like the movies, if you're going to do a haunted, like that's the thing about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I feel like they did such a great job of incorporating the feeling that you get from the ride, a 15-minute ride into 5 movies. And the Haunted Mansion movie, it just feels like they don't know what to do with it. And I get it's kind of a delicate balance because it's still a Disney movie. They don't know if they want to go more horror. They don't know if they want to go more humor. But I just always feel like the humor is so underserved, especially in that first Haunted Mansion movie where they were essentially just like Eddie Murphy say something and we'll portray it. We'll try to make it funny in reaction to the Haunted Mansion. But I just don't like the essence of what that place is and what the Haunted Mansion is. I just feel like is lost. And these guys did the work for you 60 plus years ago, But
Yeah, again,
what's your opinion on that?
Again, it's like, in this case, you're not taking it from a book or a game, you're taking it from a ride, which is interesting. And like, I don't think that's ever been done before Pirates. If I don't know, it doesn't seem like it. But yeah,
we won't count the Country Bear Jamboree movie. We won't include that
right.
one.
Oh man,
it's a great movie. I'm not even kidding. It's a great movie.
That's awesome. Yeah, but like again, it's like it's not exactly a story. It's you're going through a ride, but at the same time, like don't deviate too much from that. It's cool. Like now that you said that about the ride, now that I'm thinking about it, is this true? Because like I know there was like, is the concept supposed to be? I don't know if this is official concept or not, but that the like most of the ride is like when you're still alive, and then when you're good. and then after it's supposed to be like you're killed, like in the point where at this point they have the Hatbox ghost, your dune buggy goes backwards as if you're being lowered into the grave as you go all the way down, and then from that point it's like you're dead and you're one of the ghosts. So when you're saying like horror and comedy, like it kind of makes sense that it's more horror like up to that point because you're from the vantage point of like a real person, and then once you're dead it's like actually like more fun, more comedic, like when you're in the graveyard because you're one of them. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so there's no consensus on what the story is for the Haunted Mansion. Disney's tried to streamline and make sense of it, but they went through a bunch of different story ideas, one of which was like a sea mariner, and the sea mariner lived in this house and he died and all this stuff. But I think what you just said is the most accurate thing, and that's why, like, up until the point you go through, the seance room, Madame Leota brings the ghosts forth. You're supposed to be as a human in this haunted mansion seeing the ghosts. So when you go through the ballroom scene where they're dancing, you're still able to look through them. They look like ghostly figures. Then you go through the attic. The bride is supposed to have killed you and cut your head off. And then as you're going out of the attic, you're going backwards looking up. And then once you get into the graveyard, that's when the ghosts don't appear, see through. They look like you can see them. They look like physical beings, and that's the idea, because now you're dead and now you're a part of this world that you're seeing. So that really is, I mean, it really is segmented. If you look at the Haunted Mansion ride, half of it is scary, the other half of it is silly and fun and ridiculous. And if you look at the graveyard scene especially, that's Mark Davis all over it, because there's gags, there's humor, there's all kinds of weird stuff, and then there was another element. There's a guy named Rolly Crump, who actually me and Vince met once, who was an Imagineer. He was building a thing Walt was going to do. He designed all these things for the Haunted Mansion because he felt like, oh, it should be a little bit more scary. You should scare, like, that's fun. People like to be scared. So he created all of these designs. Well, Walt didn't have anything that he could do with it in the Haunted Mansion, but he was going to create this thing that once you exited the Haunted Mansion, you would go into this place called the Museum of the Weird. And the Museum of the Weird were all of these things that Rolly Crump designed and came up with that were supposed to be artifacts, haunted artifacts from all over the globe that they collected and they put in this Museum of the Weird. And they never did it. But there's so many of those design elements. All these guys, man, I'm telling you, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, check out what these Imagineers and these animators and people were doing, what Walt Disney did, because Walt Disney basically created something that had never been created before. So all of these guys that were animators, he kind of pulled in and were like, all right, you're engineers now, figure it out. And these guys are like, all right. So yeah, the Haunted Mansion is always, I mean, since the beginning of time, not the beginning of time, the beginning of the Haunted Mansion, there's always a debate on what the story is, and there's never a consensus. And
it's cool. It's up their interpretation too,
100%.
though, being a ride too.
But I think the blueprint is still there, and I feel like, the point of the movie shouldn't be in reaction to the ghosts. The point of the movie should be to go into, you're in with the ghosts. It's not, another thing to add. And
we like to call Eli the Moss guy of Disneyland history.
I go deep.
This is where he really shines.
This is my Last of Us. This is my I feel like I shine on other levels too. This is just one element. But yeah, it's super interesting, and I love the Haunted Mansion is like one of my favorite things of all time, and just the way it came about, all of it, the dialogue, the script was written by a 19-year-old kid that had never written a script before, and it was just like Walt Disney taking people with potential, seeing their potential, and going, oh, you could do this, and that's all these people needed, and they created it.
The intern grabbed Walt Disney, was like, oh, well, I had these ideas, and everyone's like, oh no, he's talking to the intern. He's
kind of, dude.
And he's like, oh, we need to listen to this boy. They're like, okay, Walt.
Well, dude, Exitensio was, I think he was like 19 or 20, and he had him write. He's the guy that wrote Grim Grinning Ghosts. He's the guy that wrote Yoho Yoho. Like, had never written anything, had never done anything, and was, but Walt Disney was that dude. He could see the potential in people. So all that to say, like,
there you go. Vince,
I'm holding out hope.
You still have hope, Vince. Don't be down on yourself. You can still make it.
Will he take a chance on this 34-year-old man?
Especially
is it too late?
He's dead, so he can't take a chance.
Oh, it's too late.
But
a chance.
if he was still alive, Vince, I'll take a chance on you, Vince. How about that? I don't think I'm as worthy as Walt Disney, but it's kind of how this podcast came to be, right? We took a chance on you. So anyway, I'm stoked, I guess, in theory, to see what they can do with this. This was a very, very much a teaser trailer. Jamie Lee Curtis is playing Madame Leota, which is an area of like, I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah. I could see it being good. I don't know.
Yeah, I could
But
see.
dude, when you told me
ways.
Jared Leto as Hatbox Ghost, I forgot about. I had like pushed that out of my mind, dude.
Yeah.
Why, dude?
Whatever. Do whatever you want in the movie. You keep Jared Leto the hell out of the ride. You don't put him in the ride. You don't put Jamie Lee Curtis in the ride. You don't put
I
Owen
can't
Wilson.
imagine that, dude.
I will say I do like Lakeith Stansfield, who is in the movie. I enjoy him. He was on Atlanta, and he's been in a bunch of different stuff, and I've always enjoyed him in the stuff that he's done. So I'm interested to see, but I don't know. It feels very, very reactionary, and the jokes seem very tropey. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
It looked very like, I don't know. It looked like some cool visual things, but it remains to be seen what it actually is going to be. Or like, I didn't even feel like it incorporated that many things from the ride. Like, despite having no like plot in that trailer. So
one thing I will say that I appreciated, they used the Disneyland Haunted Mansion for the mansion itself, which is really cool. They didn't do that they did the one in Florida, or maybe it was the one they did another park for the Eddie Murphy one, but this one they used the Haunted Mansion from Disneyland, which is inspired by like Louisiana plantation style like mansion. So we'll see. I'll see it. If I hate it, I'll hate it.
This is their second chance, dude. I mean, they already kind of screwed up the, what is it, 2003 or 4 or whatever that was, like version. And I mean, I feel like I love Pirates and Haunted Mansion equally as rides. I think mythology wise, they're like equal in what they could possibly be. And like, I feel like if they did it right, like Haunted Mansion could be like a franchise like Pirates if everything aligned, if they cast the right people, if they have the right story. So
yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see,
man.
The mansion itself just has to be a character. Like you have to do that. You have to do that. That's what the ride is. The ride is you go into this ethereal world where nothing makes sense, and
it should be wacky, but at the same time, it should be scary and wacky. Exactly what you said. Like when they were debating, like it has to have all those elements in it. Nevada says Muppets in all caps.
Oh, Muppets is the greatest.
Haunted Mansion, dude.
Muppets Haunted Mansion is the best Haunted Mansion movie so
far. It
is,
dude, which is kind of sad, but I'm also, totally fine with that.
Dude, Disney owns the Muppets and have never really known how to do the Muppets. I mean, the Jason Segel movie is an instant classic.
Amazing.
But they never did I'd never watched Muppets Most Wanted, which was the follow-up, just because
You never watched it?
I haven't watched it, dude. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It scares me.
It's definitely not Jason Segel, the first one, but
Jason's that Muppet movie is just so great. But
that's also a great example of a requel.
Yeah.
It's really following the same beats as the first one, but technically is a sequel.
But that Muppets Haunted Mansion, I literally have a poster on my wall right now of Muppets Haunted Mansion because I loved it so much. And man, you want to talk about capturing the essence of that ride? They did it. So maybe we don't need a Haunted Mansion movie. I don't know, but
dude. Oh yeah, Vince says best Christmas Carol as well, dude. I think 100% is the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol, dude.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, those two movies, the original Muppet movie as a straight comedy is great. Like
road trip movie.
It's not even like, you can't even classify that movie as a kid's movie. It's just a comedy, and it works so well. And but anyway, we'll see what happens with Haunted Mansion. I'm sure we'll cover it once it comes out. I think it comes out this summer. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nevada. But I think it comes out this summer. So that leaves us with the last trailer. The other thing I want to talk about, very intrigued to see what you guys think of it. We are the children of, we were born late 80s, grew up in the 90s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a staple. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon show, but really the movies are kind of where it's at, especially those first two.
My fourth birthday party was Ninja Turtles themed, and I still stand behind it.
Timeless story of, 4 turtles that mutate into teenagers and experience New York. So much potential. Those first two movies really got close. You know, I enjoyed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series on Nickelodeon that came out in 2003, and then also there was one that came out a few years ago that was really good too. That was a CGI show, and they really kind of explored that universe, which was really cool. But I thought we could watch this trailer. Really interested to see what you guys think. Vinny, are you ready? Can I cue it up?
Yeah, did you cue it up?
Oh wait, I gotta work.
You got to cue that one
You
up.
did commit to doing
did.
that.
We're trying to not crash the stream, so I'm just.
Vince is doing nothing.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right, all
that's
right.
what happens when you give me too much power. But
All right, here we go, boys and girls, and
just everybody here. I do like the tribe. I do like the usage of Tribe Called Quest. That's very Turtles to me. Is that better? I think you have the controls on it. I turned it down and it's not doing anything. So I think it's all right.
Lob it up. Lob it up.
Stay still. Stay still.
Now. Oh. Let's try that again, but with ninja stars.
Hey, why did we pick a fruit shaped exactly like my head?
Just stop talking. You're ruining my concentration.
You're fine. Chill. He's gonna die.
Wait, did you hear that? What was that?
Well, nothing we can do. You guys want to grab pizza?
Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? Can I kick it? What the heck are those things? They look like little Shreks to me. Can I kick it? Can I kick it?
Oh, we've prepared our whole lives for this.
Can I kick it?
Oh my, I'm gonna be sick.
Leo, what happened? Is Donnie bleeding?
It was an accident. Mikey, watch out!
So you were baby turtles who made contact with mystery goo.
Well, we prefer the term ooze, but yeah.
It's like more like it's just
It,
nicer.
it rolls off the tongue better, yeah.
Ooze.
It's nice, right? It's
That's a lot of voice actors.
That's a lot of voices. Seth Rogen was like, "Let me see who I have in my phone book and
Let me
put them
call
in
some
the."
people up right now. Yeah.
All right. So what do you think about that, Dave? What do you think about that? Again, it's a teaser, so it doesn't give you
Dude,
much. But
I kind of liked it, and I feel like I'm the only one that liked it based on like everyone that I talked to about it.
I've warmed up to it. The animation style. It's got that very much the Into the Spider-Verse animation. And I don't.
Yeah, I'm not super into that style either, but I can get used to it like once I'm watching something.
I thought it worked. I really enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse. I thought it worked well for that, but I don't know that that it's gonna work. It almost looks like a weird mix of CG and like claymation or stop motion in a way, which is cool. I'm definitely intrigued to see a full trailer. This one is definitely a teaser like the Haunted Mansion was. But there's so much of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle universe that they always just do Shredder, and there's so many more characters and villains, and the Technodrones and all that.
Yeah, there's some
stuff
deep cut villains in here that apparently I don't know what's gonna happen, but there's like a million
Leatherhead.
villains, so something crazy is gonna happen. And yeah, there's a lot of crazy ones that were like more obscure, and so yeah, I'm excited about that too.
this is my first time seeing it.
This one was all about like really focused on the turtles, and despite having all these big names, like including Seth Rogen himself, he's like Bebop, right? And he's not even in this. So like I kind of like that about it, that it was like very like they definitely seem like young teenagers. What were you saying, Vin?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying this. I actually saved watching this for the stream because I was excited, but I wanted to wait. That's my first time seeing it. It completely feels like in the Spider-Man movie. I can definitely see that. It looks pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna
Well,
lie.
one thing I will say is that they do kind of nail the teenager aspect, the modern teenager aspect of, which is something they've never really been able to kind of do in the turtle movies, or turtles. You know, maybe in the live action movies, the first two, they're a little bit more teenagery, but you know, this one they're doing stuff, and I'm sitting there going like, oh, this is what a kid would do. You know, so they kind of got that down.
And
Jackie
they're not
Chan
big
is
names,
Splinter,
right? The turtles' voices are not big names.
No,
right? They're
no,
just
no,
like
no.
kids, which is pretty. I feel like that's pretty awesome.
I mean,
Jackie Chan is Splinter, dude. I'm
That's
stoked about
genius.
that.
That's
dude.
pretty crazy, man.
That's pretty. Do you think Chris Tucker's in it? Just as like the soft Rush Hour 4 that we never got.
Yeah.
I hope it's good. I think the Turtles, man, they've been just so ravaged through the years, and just the wrong people involved with making the you know, the mediums. I always thought Turtles would make a really good like HBO series too. You know, if you took there's so many things that I think would work better as a HBO series than a film. But you know, I have come around to this a little bit more and kind of sat with it, and I'm at least intrigued.
Yeah, Peachtree agrees too. She said, I actually think this looks good. I love the style of animation is so different than everything else. It's fun. I agree. I think it seems fun. Like, I have a buddy that was working on some of the animation, 3D modeling for this movie, and I know that he's excited about it. And yeah, I mean, I think
Was your buddy Seth Rogen?
I like to call him Seth. We're more of a first name.
He's all Dave. Check out this.
He wanted me to originally play Baxter Stockman, and I was like, you know, I don't know, maybe in the sequel.
Like, I don't know. You should probably cast Paul Rudd in that part.
Maybe cast Paul. You know, he needs he hasn't done anything in a while, so you should ask.
He needs
him.
a win after Quantum Mania.
Yeah, it seemed cool though. What was I gonna say? Yeah. I guess anybody that knows me knows that, like, you know, you and I are both huge Turtles fans. Like, to me, like, the original Turtles movies in the 90s, like, especially Secret of the Ooze, like, the first one's probably a better overall movie, but like Secret of the Ooze is like one of my favorite movies of all time because it's so fun and ridiculous. And like the dialogue is amazing, and Vanilla Ice is in it, so obviously that makes it top tier.
Number two is by far the best, dude.
Yeah, I love it. The third one we don't talk about.
No. I talk about it.
I talk about it. And then we have the TMNT movie that was, I think, 2007. That I don't remember that much of it, but I remember being like pretty good. I remember everyone was like, "Why do they look so much like frogs?" But I remember that one being like pretty good. There's been some awesome video game Turtles games that have come out. There was one like 10 years ago that was pretty awesome. And then I'm a huge arcade cabinet guy. And so just recently, Shredder's Revenge came out. That was super awesome. That's trying to be like the older games like Turtles in Time that are like classic. So Turtles are coming back, man.
I hope so, man. I think the world is better when the Turtles are in it and relevant and not made by Michael Bay.
Touch this one, you know. At least we're not getting another one of those.
Michael Bay, yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, I think we should probably get out of here. We've made Peachtree stay up super late. I think it's way past her bedtime. And Nevada checked out a long time ago, so that's how I know that we've.
Nevada actually says
she's back in the chat,
Secret
dude.
of the Ooze trailer. Or is that a Secret of the Ooze poster? And that is, she kind of knows. Okay, where is it? Let me show you.
I was like, wait,
here.
it's not even
This is
visible.
riveting.
Wait, where am I going?
I saw her comment,
There it
and
is.
then I looked at all of our backgrounds.
There, you can't really see it, but it's dope.
It
That's
is
how much I
dope.
love the movie. Oh, and was that a call out when they said they look like little Shreks? Was that a
Yeah.
call out to the Michael
Bay? Yep, 100%.
That made me happy.
Just talking crap, dude. Yeah, it was. Yeah, those movies are a real cluster. But hey, producer Vince, you got anything left to say before we get out of here?
Nah, man. I'm glad this all worked out and we didn't get dropped, dude. I think
we've turned a new leaf where we can stream things like it's 2023 and not crash.
I like how I forgot what like this room was, and literally the poster was behind me the whole time, and I forgot that it was right there. I was like moving my camera.
I was wondering
People
why
at
Dave
home are
was
just going. Dave, it's behind
Like,
you.
It's right there.
We've been looking at it since you guys were talking about Scream. We know.
Yeah,
All right,
I
dude.
guess we'll end on that. I guess we'll end on me being stupid.
Dave, thanks. We'll see you guys back here. I think we're doing another AI sketch comedy hour next week. Is that right? Do I have that correct?
Yes, I believe it's going to be Tuesday. I'm stoked.
Check out our last one that we did. It was from 2 weeks ago now, but we had Jeff Ahern on. Really funny stuff. Kind of nailing down the format a little bit. But like we said at the beginning, like, share, subscribe. This channel, we're really trying to pump out content and do some different stuff. And, if you want, maybe Dave can take you on a tour. Maybe we can just do a video of all the posters in Dave's room and just really get the lay of the land. But anyway, thanks, Dave, for joining me. And thanks, Vince, for running and keeping the stream alive. It's important. So we'll see you guys back here next week.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.